Hello, this is Virtualis the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Recently, I've had 3 rapid games where I won in under 10 moves. And with each of these games, I won at 100% accuracy. Let's have a look at the strategic and tactical themes common amongst these games. So game 1 was a game I played on Lichess, a 10-minute game with 5-second increment, as you can see, 100% accuracy, and a game with only 6 moves. Let's have a quick look now at the analysis. There we go. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6. Let's just take off the feedback here for now. And bishop c4. So at the beginning of the Italian game, as you can see, I opted to play knight f6, baiting the opponent to do the knight attack at the beginning of the fried liver, and then the Ponziani-Steinitz Gambit. So one of the themes here is this attack on the f pawn of the opponent. So the f pawn, so f2 for the opponent with white, or f7 for the opponent with black, is a particularly good target to attack if you're going to attack in the opening, because it's the only piece that is only defended by the king at the beginning of the game. Now here my opponent wasn't perhaps aware of the gambit, so took with knight, and here comes the second theme with some of these very early attacks which are successful, which is in fact a wayward queen type move. So queen out to the edge of the board, h4, queen h4 in this case, and again piling on pressure on that f pawn of the king. Now, one of the things that happens here is, the opponent often sees that there's a serious problem, a checkmating sort of threat, and that often baits the opponent to make the wrong move. And I will put feedback on here, and this is where the opponent opts to defend the pawn on the f-file with their queen, placing their queen in front of their f-pawn. And you can see in this game, this was a straight up blunder, but we'll see this as a theme across the other 2 games as well, that it is at least a mistake or inaccuracy. And in this game, the last theme, so this is a theme which is an error for the opponent, and the last of the 4 themes is bringing the knight to either d4 if you're with the black pieces, or d5 with the white pieces, as this is now very powerful, placing an attack on that queen, but also attacking the c pawn, which is now undefended after the queen has moved from its opening square, and generally this is a lost position now for the opponent, and my opponent in fact resigned here. And why is it lost? Simply the queen cannot defend that pawn on the f-file, the c pawn as well, which of course, if I capture, comes with at least a loss of the rook, and also defend itself from attack. It just cannot do all 3 things at once, and this is a completely lost position. So this was game 1. Let's now have a quick look at game 2. So game 2, I played with white pieces, again on Lichess, 100% accuracy, very good, and only 8 moves in this game. Let's move on now to analysis. In this game, I played a Vienna game, so e4, e5, knight c3. The opponent played the Max Lang defense, so knight c6, bishop c4, and they play symmetrically bishop c5. Now, one of the strong things about the Vienna is, in fact, that the knight is in ready stead. Remember that theme, moving the knight to the d5 square if you have the white pieces, or d4 with black. So it's already primed to potentially make that attack. Now here, that bishop places pressure on that weak f-pawn. And now I play queen to g4. So again, sort of a wayward queen type attack. Now, queen here is not directly attacking the f-pawn, but attacking the g-pawn. But you can see if I'm allowed to capture the g-pawn, then you know that pawn is pretty much right next and potentially a checkmating threat. And with this sort of attack, very commonly, same idea and part of the theme, the mistake of the opponent is to bring their queen in front of their f-pawn. So this is actually a line of theory, but you can see here before the queen move, slightly favoring black, right after the move, substantially improved evaluation for white. So this, in my view, is definitely a mistake, or at least an inaccuracy. And once we've got this position, we now have that move knight to d5 with an attack on the queen, also an attack on the c7 square, so the c pawn in this case, part of that theme. And in fact, this is known as the Mietner-Mieses Gambit. In this game, it's very common for the queen to now take my f-pawn, and that's expected. It's not particularly scary. King slides out of the way. And now with that knight move, which kind of makes sense, however, it also kind of doesn't, because this pawn is undefended, captures, they're in some serious trouble, you know, almost expected that the rook will come over, seemingly defended, but it's not, because the knight on d5. Not only are these two moves very potentially powerful, but they also come with check. And this means you basically have an extra move. So that comes with check, which means they cannot capture my queen. Here, the opponent sort of moves their king out of the way, and they immediately resign after that move, because now I've got any number of possible moves. I could straight up capture that pawn, or capture the rook, or let the knight capture the rook. So in any of those positions, I am well ahead. You know, here basically completely winning. Let's now look at game 3. Game 3, again, you know, 100% accuracy, and I think I won this game in 7 moves. On to analysis. There we go. I had the white pieces again, e4, e5, knight c3, so again, another Vienna game. And my opponent played a somewhat unusual response with that pawn move. So immediately I decided to play bishop to c4, theme 1. Targeting an attack on that weak f-pawn. Opponent now makes another pawn move. I've almost a little bit like a Sicilian, I suppose, but this really doesn't work. This is sort of like a waiting move, and I now have substantial advantage in development. And so again, piling on the pressure to that pawn, Wayward Queen. So that theme 2. Making the Wayward Queen powerful. And of course, this is a real threat. With sort of 2 attackers, it's not exactly obvious how the opponent is best to defend that pawn. And very often, the opponent will try to defend with bringing the queen out, which is another theme, in front of their f-pawn, and that is a mistake, because now we've got the theme 4 with that powerful tactic, the knight to d5, attacking the queen on f6 in this case, but also attacking the square on c7. So the c pawn's already moved, but it doesn't really make any difference. That comes with check, with an attack on the king and the rook. The queen no longer defends the c7 square here because it's already moved. What is it going to do? In this game, they opted to move here, thinking they could defend, but obviously this doesn't work because I can move there anyway. And here, you know, Stockfish actually rated this as brilliant, but if you sort of understand the general themes and the ideas here, it's a reasonably obvious move. Basically, if the queen captures, then they cannot protect the f-pawn. I've also opened up the diagonal now. They do capture, queen takes, opponent opts to resign. And basically, the king has only one move. They're forced to d8, and then queen captures bishop on f8 would be checkmate. So good game, GG. There is one big takeaway from these games. getting a knight to d5 as white or d4 as black can be a powerful tactic in early aggressive attacks. I hope you found this video interesting, and thanks for watching.